Hello, everyone. My name is Will Hankey with Red Canoe Media. Today, we're going to go over the WordPress SEO presentation that I did at Wordcamp St. Louis 2015. The date was March 14th, 2015, and these are the slides from that. It's fairly short, and there are some really good tips in here about things you need to do for your SEO. Not always necessarily WordPress, but just in general. There are some things that you need to do. So I'd like to go ahead and get started with that. So, while there are some things that I really wanted to cover in the overall presentation, one of the things I wanted to do during the presentation was make sure that I had a conversation with the class, and some of the attendees had questions, and we're actually going to get to those at the end. But I even after all these years of speaking at WordPress at WordCamp, I'm still surprised at the amount of people that think SEO is a mystery, and that there are all these crazy things out there, and all these rumors, and they're not sure what to do. And I wanted to make sure that I left plenty of time for that. So obviously the whole idea behind doing SEO and doing any sort of internet marketing is to gain the attraction of customers that are out there and clients, and get more traffic to your site. So, one of the best ways to do that, and I've said this over and over, and I'm sure you hear this from most internet marketers, is content. If you're writing content on a regular basis, or you're creating content, I should say, on a regular basis, you're going to naturally attract more traffic to your site. So some examples of content could be obviously a blog post or an article, something related to your industry. Content can also be a video or a webinar, such as the one that I'm doing right now. Anything that creates something and actually adds value to your website, answers questions, provides value in some way, is considered content. So now, not every piece of content is terrific, and not every piece of content really needs to be made. So a lot of the things you want to say don't necessarily resonate with your target audience. So what you really need to write about, obviously, is what they're interested in and how that overlaps with what you want to say. So, it goes back to the whole thing of creating a persona. I'm sure you've heard many times about creating or knowing who your target audience is. And that's a terrific thing to know. And I definitely agree that you should know who your target audience is. But even beyond that, I think you should create personas. And that could be a couple different people. So you actually give a name to a person, and then you know information about that person. It's Melissa, and she is a single mom who has a full-time job, wants to know quick meals to feed her kids. That would be a very specific persona for somebody who's in the food industry or a recipe website or something like that. So, you really need to have these different personas of who am I speaking to, and how this person relates to what I do or what I sell or my services or products. And then you customize your content around that specific person. So that's where we hit the relevance, and that's what's going to get you some more traffic. So there's a couple ways to optimize this sort of content. And with WordPress, there's a couple different plugins that are very popular right now. Yoast, at WordCamp, I probably heard Yoast in nearly every session that I attended. So it's definitely become the mainstream plugin for SEO on WordPress. Now, there's also one called All-in-One SEO Pack. And years ago, this was the one to use. In fact, the first time I spoke at WordCamp, I spoke on WordPress SEO of all things. And I was talking about this plugin and another one that was called Headspace at the time that was popular. And somebody raised their hand and asked about Yoast. And I said, I don't know anything about that. So it's interesting how over the last couple of years, that's really kind of reversed, and not a lot of people use the all-in-one anymore. In fact, I had the room raise their hands of how many were using it, and I'd say maybe 10%. of the room was using the all-in-one. Most people were using Yoast. So that seems to be the common plugin for SEO. So one of the other things I wanted to make sure that everyone knew was that late 2014, Google came out and said that your website really needs to be full HTTPS. In other words, it needs to be secure. If your website is completely HTTPS secure, then you're going to get a little bit of a rankings boost from it. So in the overall scheme of all the things that Google tells us that we need to do, some of them we have to figure out on our own. Every once in a while, they come out with some things that say, if you do this, you're going to see a little bit better rankings from it. And this is one of those things. So the way to do that is to get an SSL certificate. Now, if you have an e-commerce type website, it's very possible that you already have an SSL certificate in order to handle the encryption and things related to product purchase and those sort of things, so that the credit cards are encrypted and secure and all that stuff. If that's the case, you won't have to buy another SSL certificate. You just need to tell your hosting company or your web designer or whoever that you want your entire website to be HTTPS instead of HTTP. So you want your entire website to be secure. Now, if you have a blog, or if you just have a regular company website and you don't sell anything online, this is still worth going ahead and grabbing. And, I went out on GoDaddy on that day, Saturday, and grabbed their homepage about the SSL certificates, and they're as cheap as $56 a year. So, it's not huge as far as the amount of money you have to spend, but it's definitely worth what is that, $5 a month or something that it ends up being, to get a completely secure website, and on top of that, get a little more love from Google. So who doesn't like that? Now, when you do go and get your HTTPS website and it's all set up, you do need to make sure that you go into Google Webmaster Tools and submit your website to them with the HTTPS, so that they know that you've changed it and that is now your default web page. If you've never added a website to Google Webmaster Tools, I'll go back here. It's right there at the bottom, google.com/webmasters. Definitely go in there and click the button to verify your website. And then they'll give you a couple different ways of doing that. You can download a file. You can use your registrar. So if you used GoDaddy or something to buy your domain, you can verify via that. If you use Google Analytics, which I hope you do, you can verify through that. So there's a lot of different ways to verify the ownership of your website, but definitely take the time to do that and make sure that you verify it. Now, once you're in Google Webmaster Tools, one of the first things that you should do is to add a sitemap. And there's a simple button up at the top right that says add/test sitemap. And this is something that you can get inside the Yoast SEO plugin, or probably the all-in-one SEO plugin. And you can get the address to your sitemap file, and then you need to add it to the Google Webmaster file. And the reason that you do that, if you don't have a sitemap submitted, then the search engines basically come to your website and kind of stumble through it. So they find a page, they find some links, they annotate those links, they go visit those pages, they might find more links, and so they'll end up indexing your site in a kind of clunky way. So if you have a sitemap.xml file, which is generated, as I said, with these SEO type plugins, then you could submit that file, which it is exactly what it sounds like. It is a map of your site. So it lists every page on your site, and you could submit that to the search engines or to Google, and they will take that file, and it will make it a lot easier for them to get through your website and to find all those pages, because they already know where those links are and where those pages are. So definitely take the time to do this. I mean, it takes just a minute. So another thing I wanted to talk about was responsive themes, and in particular, mobile-friendly websites. If your website is not mobile-friendly, then you're actually going to start seeing some problems as of April 21st of 2015. So if you're watching this video prior to April 21, then you're still in a good place, and you need to just make sure that your website is mobile-friendly. If it isn't, or if you're watching this after the 21st, then you're probably already getting hit with some sort of a penalty for having a non-mobile friendly website. So the easiest way to test, and there's actually a couple ways to test whether or not your website is really considered mobile friendly. And by the way, this is a quote straight from Google, that this change will have a significant impact on our search results if you are not mobile friendly. So one of the ways that you can test this is to pick up a mobile device, a cell phone, and go to your website or go to Google and type in site : SITE : and then yourdomain.com or .biz or whatever it happens to be. So in my case, I would do site SITE : redcanoemedia.com. All one word, no spaces. Now, on a mobile device, what this will do is this will bring back a list of results about my website. But the very first one I see should say mobile friendly at the top, as it does here. If you don't see that mobile friendly, then that means Google doesn't think your website is rendering for mobile devices correctly. Now, another way to test this is actually inside of Webmaster Tools. They've built a mobile friendly test option. So you can go visit this on a desktop or something if that's what you have, and plug in a URL or a web address there and hit the analyze button, and that will tell you if they consider your website to be mobile friendly or not. Now, remember, you have until April 21st to get this done in order to continue to be on the Google good list, I guess you could call it. If you're not mobile friendly by the 21st, then you will see a dip in your overall rankings. Now, the easiest way to get a mobile-friendly website, especially with WordPress, is to use a responsive theme. So if you come back and you don't get a good result here, it may be worth going out to themeforest.net. That's a great website. Templatemonster.com is another one. And look through their templates, find one that you like, and make sure that it has a responsive element to it. So make sure that it is responsive. That's very important. And all responsive means is that it responds to the size of the screen that the user is looking at, and it recalibrates itself accordingly. So it redoes your navigation, shrinks the images so they fit, those sort of things. So definitely very important to have a mobile-friendly website. Now, there's also a guide on how to get a mobile-friendly website if you want to do it the hard way, or you want to keep your current layout, or you don't have a WordPress site and it's hard-coded, something like that. They do have a full manual, I guess you could call it, out on the web where you can actually go look at all the different things you need to do in order to become what they consider mobile-friendly. And the address for that is down there at the bottom, developers.google.com/webmasters/mobile-sites. Now, lastly, the other thing I wanted to share with the audience and the attendees there was that it's very important that a website, and not necessarily even a WordPress website, but any website, that any page that somebody lands on, especially a piece of content that you've created and something that adds value to that visitor's time with you, then you need to make sure that there's some sort of what I call a call to action, what most people call. There's something that they have to do next. So, man, I really liked this piece of content. I really like this article or this video. Give them something to do next. Now, that could be download this, add to cart, obviously, is a purchase situation. But more importantly, give them something to interact with your own website, so that maybe they have to give you their email address in order to download a checklist of other things you might have forgotten about, or top 7 things before you buy a blue widget, something like that, and get that email address and start that conversation with them. Not everybody wants to get married as soon as they meet you. It might be that they kind of want to date and get a grip of the situation first, which makes total sense. So to immediately ask them to sign up for a newsletter or purchase something might be kind of a harsh way to start a relationship. It may be better to give them something free, like I said, a checklist or something like that. What we call in the industry a lead magnet, or something that attracts people to continue to have a conversation with you. So I wanted to make sure that everybody there that is building a website for some reason, that once somebody comes to your website, they have some sort of next step. I think that's really important, and a lot of people miss out on that opportunity. So that was the end of my presentation, and then I opened the room to questions, and I did have quite a few questions. I have some of them here, so I wanted to make sure I went over those questions as well. The first one was, should my H1, or which is a heading tag, should it always match my title? And so in most situations, in most WordPress templates, that happens automatically. The way the template is built, the H1 and the titles always match. So when you write a new blog post, that whatever you title that post becomes your heading or your H1 tag, and it also becomes the page title. Now, you can change your page title with the Yoast plugin or the all-in-one SEO plugin, so you can slightly modify those. And quite honestly, I don't think it matters if they match exactly. They should be very close to each other. But if the word order is different, or it's slightly phrased different, where maybe one's a question, one's a statement, something like that, that's okay. I think they need to be very similar, but they don't necessarily have to be exact. Typically, when I write content for Red Canoe Media, I typically like to mismatch them slightly. So in my case, they don't match exactly. Somebody also asked about overall ways to quickly assess your situation when it comes to SEO. And I've talked about this many times. My favorite quick down and dirty tool for assessing a website is called SEO Doctor. And that is a plugin specifically for the Mozilla Firefox browser. So if you use Google Chrome or you use Internet Explorer, it won't work. You have to use the Firefox browser for this. But so you just go out there and look for SEO Doctor plugin or module or whatever Firefox calls it. And it puts a little flag up in the corner, and it's pretty cool. Let me pull it up here for you. Here we go. Here's the green flag up here when I pull up my site. And when I click on that, you can see down here, this is a list of things that that particular plugin looks for on a site. And then, so you can do this for different sites. So if I wanted to look at maybe my advertised page, I can click on that and it'll give me a flag specifically for that page. So as you go through your site, you can see all the different color flags and whether they're set. I was kind of trying to find one that was yellow, but it looks like I've already optimized this site to oh, there we go. There's a yellow. So here's a page called Elk River Float Trips, and there's not a whole lot there. It's a list of outfitters and things like that. But so now I can see that I got a yellow instead of a green. And the reason is my meta description is probably empty. So meta description has 0 words and 0 characters. So now I know, okay, I need to go to this page on WordPress and add my meta description in there because it will help me with the overall SEO rankings. So pretty cool little plugin. I can click this again to make it go away. And great little way to quickly assess a website and see how well or how bad it is. So anytime that there's something wrong, it'll tell you. If you don't have an H1 tag, it'll list what that is, or if you have 2 of them, which I see a lot, you have 2 H1 tags and you should only have 1, things like that. So pretty cool little plugin. Next on my list of questions was around something similar to what I just talked about, which is the meta description. Somebody had asked about meta keywords or the meta keyword tag. And the meta keyword tag was deprecated or stopped being used about 9 years ago now. The search engines do not use, or they do not consider that in the overall scheme of when they look at a page. So if you have a meta keywords tag, that's okay to have on there, but it's a waste of time, really, because you're not getting any credit for those keywords. And quite honestly, it's extra code on your page that, if anything, increases your overall page download time or your page speed, because there's more code that the browser needs to download. So somebody brought up, okay, so I don't need to use meta tags at all. That's not the case. So the meta keyword tag specifically is not important. Don't waste your time with it. The meta description tag, kind of like we saw on that Float Missouri page, very important. The meta description tag is the actual description that shows up when somebody searches for something. So in this case, here's some news on the mobile thing coming out. Marketers have ample time to prepare for Google's next mobile update. That is their meta description. So they put these two sentences into their meta description area, probably in Yoast, in the Yoast plugin. And that's what the search engines pull up when they're showing your results inside Google. So it's definitely very important, or the meta description tag, but not the meta keywords tag. That was a big one. Somebody also asked about the entire website being HTTPS versus just certain sections of the site. Really, what Google is looking for is the entire website to be secure. And in WordPress, once you get your SSL certificate set up, then that's real easy to do, because there's just some settings in WordPress to tell WordPress that from now on use HTTPS, and it's under the appearance settings, I believe, general settings, and you can just change the URL right there, and it will always serve it up that way in the future. You should also do something in the HT access file, which you may have to get a web person to do, and the little thing that you can do in there is have a redirect written. So if somebody comes to your website using a link or something, maybe a bookmark or whatever, or they just follow a link on the web that isn't changed, and they end up at your HTTPS or HTTP website, that it automatically just forwards them to the secure version. So that's definitely important. And then the last question that I had was about Webmaster Tools. And we talk a lot about Google Webmaster Tools. And actually the question was, is Bing important? And it was just nice and short and sweet. And yes, I would definitely not ignore Bing. If you go to Yahoo, for example, if you look at the bottom of any Yahoo search, it's actually powered by the Bing product. So it's definitely important that you pay attention to Bing as well as Google. And Bing actually does have a Webmaster Tools version as well, which I would definitely submit. I would definitely recommend submitting your search, your website to. And they have the same sitemap kind of thing. So I definitely recommend adding your sitemap to the Bing search, to the Bing Webmaster Tools. So you can just go to Google and Bing and look for Bing Webmaster Tools, right? So yeah, definitely take your time to pay attention to that as well. Now, it's not going to serve as much traffic as Google is, obviously, but definitely not always worth, or definitely, take your time and don't ignore it. So listen, I really appreciate you jumping on the webinar today and watching the presentation. I wanted to do one last thing, and that's to make sure that you actually take action on what's next as far as going through your site and making sure that things are optimized. And what you can do is go to redcanoemedia.com/action, And I've created this cool little free content creation checklist that you can have. It's a free download. And what it is, it has a list of all the things that you need to go through and make sure that every piece of content on your site is perfectly optimized. Now, the best thing is to print this out, and before you build another piece of content, that you go through this list and check these all off, before you hit the publish button. So go ahead, grab this at redcanoemedia.com/action. It's totally free. And other than that, I really appreciate you being on the call. I hope you have a spectacular rest of your day, and take care. Bye-bye.